Have you ever faced a moment so terrifying, so final, that it felt like the end? For one woman, that moment wasn't just a feeling. It was a cold, hard reality. She was staring death right in the face. But instead of giving in, instead of accepting her fate, she did something truly extraordinary. She looked it straight in the eyes and said, "Not today. You'll have to wait." This isn't just a story about survival. It's a story about the incredible power of the human spirit. Imagine being pushed to the absolute limit, where every odd is stacked against you. The doctors have given up hope, the statistics are grim, and everyone around you is preparing for the worst. In that darkness, where do you find the light? Where do you find the strength to fight back when the fight seems already lost? Our story begins on what seemed like a perfectly ordinary day. The sun was shining, birds were singing, the kind of day you'd never expect your world to shatter. But for her, a sudden, unforeseen event turned everything upside down. One minute, she was living her life. The next, she was in a hospital bed, surrounded by the beeping of machines that were barely keeping her alive. The diagnosis was devastating. The prognosis even worse. The experts, the people who had seen it all, shook their heads and spoke in hushed, somber tones. They told her family to prepare for the inevitable. But they didn't know who they were dealing with. Lying there, she made a choice. It wasn't a choice born of denial or delusion. It was a conscious, powerful decision to live. She decided that numbers on a chart and grim predictions from doctors would not write the final chapter of her story. She was the author, and this book was far from over. So the battle began. It was a grueling uphill climb. There were days filled with unimaginable pain, moments of crushing despair where giving up seemed like the only sensible option. She faced setbacks that would have broken anyone else, friends and even some family members, trying to be realistic, gently suggested she should just be comfortable. But comfortable wasn't in her vocabulary. Fighting was. She started with the small things, a single deep breath when it felt like her lungs would give out, a tiny movement of a finger when her body was paralyzed. She celebrated these tiny victories, these sparks of defiance in the face of oblivion. She learned to harness the power of her own mind, visualizing her body healing, cell by cell. She pictured herself walking out of that hospital, feeling the sun on her face again, laughing with her loved ones. These weren't just daydreams, they were blueprints for her recovery, and slowly, miraculously, the tide began to turn. The machines she depended on were needed less and less. The grim-faced doctors started looking at her charts with a sense of awe and disbelief. They couldn't explain it with medical science alone. Something else was at play here, an unbreakable will, a sheer force of life that refused to be extinguished. She was rewriting the medical textbooks with her own story of resilience. Weeks turned into months. The woman who was told she would never leave her bed took her first wobbly step. The woman who was told to say her goodbyes started planning her future. She didn't just survive, she came back stronger, with a deeper appreciation for every single moment. She had walked through the darkest valley imaginable and emerged on the other side, not just intact, but transformed. Her story teaches us a profound lesson. While we can't always control what happens to us, we can control how we respond. We can choose to be defined by our circumstances, or we can choose to define ourselves. In our own lives, we all face battles. They may not be as dramatic as staring death in the eyes, but they test our spirit all the same. This incredible woman shows us that within each of us lies a reservoir of strength we might not even know we have. It's the voice that whispers keep going when everything else screams give up. So the next time you feel overwhelmed, the next time the odds seem insurmountable, remember her. Remember the woman who looked death in the eyes and told it to wait. Because if she could do that, just imagine what you are capable of. Thank you so much for watching. If this story moved you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more content that celebrates the power of the human spirit. We'll see you in the next one.